If you've already visualized the exact result you wanted and nothing changed, the problem was never your faith. It took me years to realize that visualizing by itself never had the power to change anything. And today I'm going to show you the 5 things I stopped doing. Before we get into the 5 things, let me ask you for something quick. Subscribe here because we talk about money, mindset, and truths nobody tells you 3 times a week. And leave a like because it helps this content reach other people who are also stuck trying to visualize without ever seeing a result. Good morning, manifestors. If you've ever made a vision board, closed your eyes hundreds of times visualizing that exact number in your bank account, that house, that different life, and then opened your eyes and found yourself in exactly the same place, I need to tell you something. You are not the only one. And the problem was never your faith. I spent years doing this. I followed tutorial after tutorial, visualized the right number in my account every night before falling asleep. Even imagined the feeling of opening my banking app and seeing that number, and the account stayed exactly the same the next day. Year after year, the same routine, the same result, 0. And what bothered me the most wasn't even the result. It was hearing the same ready-made recipe over and over. Just visualize it, feel like you already have it, and the universe will bring it to you. That never made sense to me, because no universe moves money into anyone's account without some real mechanism behind it. I wasn't lacking faith, and I'm not going to pretend here that I was a victim of some force working against me. I was lacking a mechanism. That difference changes everything, because faith isn't something you control, but a mechanism is something you can learn. Today I'm going to show you the 5 things I stopped doing when I figured this out, and I'll tell you up front. The first 2 mistakes are going to sound extremely familiar to you. The first thing I stopped doing was visualizing like someone watching a movie. I kept seeing the scene from the outside like a spectator of my own life, me in the new house, me with the car, me receiving that money. Except I was always standing outside the scene, watching it, never actually inside it. And your body doesn't respond the same way when you're only observing versus when you're actually feeling something. A lot of people build a beautiful vision board. A beautiful vision board full of pictures cut out from magazines, but they just look at it from the outside, like flipping through a catalog, and that doesn't move anything on the inside. That's when I understood that the difference wasn't in visualizing more, it was in stepping into the scene, in first person, feeling the ground beneath you, the temperature, the breathing of someone who's already living that life. This isn't willpower, it's simple biology. The body responds to the emotion of the scene, not the scene itself. Hold on to that idea, because it comes back a lot stronger later on. The second thing was to stop visualizing only the result and start visualizing who I needed to become to have that result. For years I kept seeing the right number in my account, but I never visualized the posture of someone who already handles money well, the way they make decisions, talk about prices, or avoid panicking over an account that's still running low. Having and being are completely different things, and I confused them the entire time. Those 2 alone already change a lot. I was looking at my dream life from the outside, like a spectator. I had never actually stepped into it, and that changes everything. But that's nowhere near the most important mistake on my list. There's a third one, much quieter, that almost nobody realizes they're making. The third thing I stopped doing was checking whether it was working. I'd open my bank statement every single day just to see if there was any sign, paying attention to every coincidence, as if it were proof the process was working. A similar car, a repeated number, a song playing at just the right moment. Except checking constantly is the most efficient way to reinforce the exact state of lack you're trying to escape. It's like digging up a seed every day to see if it's grown roots yet. You don't speed anything up, you just destroy the little bit that had already started growing underground. And the worst part is, that anxiety doesn't even feel like a mistake in the moment. It feels like care, attention, dedication, when it's actually the opposite. The fourth thing was to stop using visualization as relief and start using it as training. I would sit down, visualize for 5 minutes, feel that good peace, a sense that everything was going to work out, and then the rest of the day would fall apart, the same way it always did, in the checkout line, in a tense meeting, in a money conversation I kept avoiding. I wasn't training a new version of myself. I was using it as a sedative for the anxiety of the moment, 5 minutes of peace, and then right back to the old character for the rest of the day. Trying too hard also gets in the way here. The more I forced myself to feel it, the less I actually felt it for real. And that's very different from training. Because training is repeating a new version of yourself, not escaping an old one. Wow, if you recognize yourself in those 4, I get it. I recognized myself too, one by one, along the way. And this is exactly where most people get stuck. They recognize 1 or 2 of these 4 mistakes, but they don't know how to put together the entire reprogramming process on their own. That's why I gathered everything I learned over these years, in practice, into one ebook, from the difference between visualizing from the outside and actually living it from the inside, to the right way to train your identity without falling into these same mistakes again. I go back to that material myself whenever I feel like I've slipped back into acting like my old self. And it's the same thing I point people to when someone writes to me saying they got stuck exactly at these points. If you want to go further than what a video alone can give you, the link is in the description. Take a look, see if it makes sense for you. Back to it. The 5th mistake, the most important one of all, is what we're going to look at now. And here it is, the 5th one, what I stopped doing, and it actually sums up and outweighs all 4 of the previous ones. I stopped trying to change my life in 10 minutes a day, sitting in a chair, and started living as the new version of myself all day long, standing up, walking around, answering messages, deciding what to eat, negotiating a price. It was the strongest item on this list. And the reason almost nobody explains it properly is simple. It doesn't feel like a mistake in the moment. It feels like discipline. That sounds simple, but it changes everything. Because an old belief doesn't change just because you cover it with a pretty few minute scene. It changes when it's reactivated with real emotion and replaced over and over until it becomes automatic. That's basically what science calls reconsolidation, minus the complicated name. An old belief enters a flexible, changeable state when it's emotionally activated. And it's only in that state that it can actually be swapped out for a new one. Without real activation, it just stays filed away exactly as it was, intact, waiting for the next time life puts you to the test. Think of it this way. Visualization is the dressing room. It's where you rehearse, try on the new outfit, memorize your lines, feel out the character before you go on. In the dressing room, you can repeat the perfect scene 100 times, with the right lighting, nobody interrupting you, 0 risk involved. The stage is messy, unpredictable, full of people reacting differently than you expected. And that's exactly why someone who only ever stays in the dressing room never actually learns to perform for real. Because acting proves itself under risk, not under rehearsal. The 4 mistakes I told you about so far were all symptoms of the same misunderstanding. I thought the rehearsal by itself was already the performance. I'd spend 10 minutes in the dressing room and expect the stage to change on its own. It never does. It only changes once I take the person I visualized out of the chair with me. Visualization never had the power to change my life on its own. It only becomes powerful once I take the person I visualized out of that chair with me for the rest of the day. Maybe you're wondering why nobody told you this before, and the answer is simple. Reshaping who you are all day long takes a lot more work than selling 10 minutes of peace. Understanding what changed isn't enough. I need to show you why this specific item is so different from the other 4, and this is where the difference becomes clear. The first 4 mistakes are execution mistakes, about how I was doing the practice. The 5th one is a belief mistake, the idea that the practice on its own was already enough. That's why it weighs more than the other 4 combined, and this is where I understood why this last one is truly different. It's not just one more item on the list, it's the root of all the others. There's a huge difference between a ritual that lasts a few minutes and a state that's sustained for 24 hours. Most people visualize for 10 minutes and expect that to carry the entire day on its own, like filling up a gas tank once a week and expecting it to last. Nobody gets in shape by training 10 minutes a week and living a sedentary life the rest of the time. The body, just like identity, responds to what's repeated, not to what's occasional. I know a good chunk of this niche is going to disagree with me here, because just visualizing is already enough is a comfortable sentence to hear. But comfort isn't the same thing as truth. Visualization is a tool. A sustained identity is what actually produces results. That doesn't mean abandoning the tool. It means you stop expecting it to do, all by itself, the work that's actually yours to do decision by decision throughout the day. And acting from who you've already decided to be is completely different from asking from a place of still feeling the lack. It's not that the other 4 mistakes are small. It's that all of them come from the same misunderstanding. Thinking that visualizing is the change, when visualizing is really just the invitation to it. Now, understanding this logic doesn't change anything on its own. It's time to show you how to actually start applying it today. So, how to start with this today without overcomplicating it. Pick one decision from your day, just one, to make as the new version of yourself. It could be the way you respond to a message, your posture in a meeting, the way you look at the price of something without freezing up. It doesn't need to be big. It needs to be real, the kind of decision that, if someone saw you from the outside, would show them you're no longer the same person you were 6 months ago. Visualization still has its role. Set aside 2 to 5 minutes, morning or night, just to feel the character before you act. But the real goal was never to stay there. It's to carry that feeling out of the chair into the rest of your day without demanding an immediate result. Also pay attention to where you're still acting like your old self. Sometimes it's just your tone of voice. Sometimes it's accepting a compliment without shrinking yourself. Sometimes it's saying no to something the old version of you always accepted out of fear. Correct it right there, the moment you notice it, because it's in that detail, repeated every single day, that real change actually happens. You don't need to visualize more. You need to stop leaving the scene the moment you open your eyes. So those were the 5 things I stopped doing. And the most important one of all was the last one. Stop living in rehearsal and start living on the stage, all day long, not just in the chair. And every week I get messages from people who've sustained this new identity for over a month, simply because they had the ebook to lean on the days when motivation alone isn't enough to hold them up. It's not there to teach you again what I've already explained here, it's there to support you in what comes after this video. The link is in the description. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 hurt the most to recognize? I read every single one, skisper, because 3 times a week we break down a mistake just like this one, always with logic, no fluff. And send this video to someone you know who's always rehearsing the life they want, without ever actually stepping onto the stage for real. I'll see you in the next video, Manifestors.